In this video we're going to consider how to change recurring decimals into fractions, and there's a procedure that really you just need to learn. If we look at this decimal here, 0.7 recurring, always make sure the dot is clear, not just a little pinprick with a pencil point. Make sure the dot can be seen. 0.7 recurring. Now if this mark wasn't here, then this would be in the tenths column and we would have 7/10. We would convert it into a fraction very easily indeed. But this doesn't mean 7/10 anymore. What we need to do is leave a couple of lines blank and we start setting up the method that you need to learn. X equals 0.7 recurring. Now obviously we can't write out all of the 7s because they do go on forever, but we can show the first few. Now that 7, if we multiply that 7 by 10, it will jump into that column. If we multiply that 7 by 10, it will jump into that column. And so, because it repeats every single column, always the same 7, what we're going to do is we're going to take that original value, x, we're going to multiply it by 10, and all of these 7s are going to jump one column to the left. So it's going to look like that. The 7 that I haven't written here will jump into there. Now the big advantage of doing this is that we can now play a little trick. We can subtract the x from the 10x. And when we do that, we get a very simple 9x equals, all of these cancel themselves out and we're just left with exactly 7. The recurring decimal has now disappeared. So we've discovered that 9 lots of x equals exactly 7. This is a very simple equation. You know how to solve these. Divide the left hand side by 9, divide the right hand side by 9, and we discover that x is 7/9. That's our answer. Because if x equals 7/9, remember what x was at the beginning. The very first thing we did was we set x equal to 0.7 recurring, which we'd been asked to work with. And so if x equals 0.7 recurring, and if x also equals 7/9, therefore this decimal must be exactly equal to 7/9. Let's look at a slightly more complicated one. 0.316. Now you need to understand the significance of these dots. This means that the 3 appears, and then it is the 1/6 which recurs backwards and forwards. We don't get another 3. We're going to leave a couple of lines blank. The reason we're leaving 2 lines blank, like we did over here, is so that we have a space to work above the x that we put in here. X equals 0.31616, and so on. Now, if we multiply this by 10, this 6 will jump into here. This 1 will jump into here. This 6 will jump into here. And when we try to do a subtraction, we will not get the awkward recurring decimal parts cancelling each other out. So multiplying by 10 isn't a good option here. Instead, we would like this 6 to jump into here. We would like this 1 to jump into here. It's a 2-column jump. So we're going to use 100x because that's what you do if you want to move 2 columns. So the 3 does not move into the units column, it moves into the tens column. The 1 jumps across to here. The 6 jumps across to here. The decimal point, of course, doesn't move. So we've got 31.61616. This 16 came from here, which I hadn't bothered writing down. We now do the same as in the first example. We decide to subtract so that the awkward recurring parts of the decimals will disappear. 100x take away a single x is 99x. and we have 31.3. It's a little bit more awkward than just 7 ninths. We divide by 99, both sides, and so we discover that x equals 31.3 over 99. Now that's not great, because you know yourself, you never leave a decimal inside a fraction. It's just not appropriate. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to work with this fraction. We're going to have to think equivalent fractions to turn everything into whole numbers. Now, when we think equivalent fractions, all we can do is multiply this by 1. If we multiply by something else, the size of the fraction will change. We won't have an equivalent fraction. The trick is choosing a value of 1, which actually helps. Now, if I multiply this 31.3 by 10, this will become 313, a nice whole number. That tells me I'd better multiply the denominator by 10 as well, so that overall I'm multiplying by 1 to get my equivalent fraction. So x is equal to 313 over 990. Now perhaps this simplifies. If it does, then I've got to, so I start thinking, divide by 2, doesn't work in the numerator. Divide by 3, doesn't work in the numerator, neither does 4, neither does 5. Chances are I suspect this doesn't simplify. If I was in an exam, I would take a bit more time thinking about it. I will just comment that you can bring up your calculator and try 313 divided by 990. This will achieve probably a couple of things. First of all, it confirms that it doesn't simplify. Second of all, it tells me that I've got it right, because it does give me this recurring decimal. Okay, what we're going to do now is do some more of these, but this time you're going to try them and then I will go through them. So, first of all, could you please change this recurring decimal into a fraction, a simplified fraction? Pause the video now, and then when you've done it, start watching the video again and you can check my answer against yours. Pause it now. Okay, hopefully you've had a good go at that. Now, let's see what you got. X equals 0.1313. It's repeating every 2 columns. I'm going to change this to 100x. And I've got, see, that 1 jumps into there, that 3 jumps into there. And so I've got that. If we now subtract, we've got 99x equals 13. And if we divide both sides by 99, we've got x equals 13 over 99, which doesn't cancel. Hopefully you got that. Now try this next one. Same idea. If you could pause the video now and have a go at changing 0.207 recurring as shown by the dots into a fraction, and I'll go through it once you've had a go. Okay, here, what have we got? First of all, you need to understand the dots. This means that 207 is the cycling pattern. It's repeating every 3 columns. That's actually a multiplication of 1,000. So 1,000x equals, now this 2 won't jump into the tens or the hundred units or tens, it'll jump into the hundreds. So what we've got is 207.207. Everything's moved 3 columns. The 207 that's out there will jump into there. So we do our subtraction. And we've got 999x equals, they all cancel, equals 207. Divide by 999, and we've got x equals 207 over 999. Again, I think this doesn't simplify. 207 over 999. It does simplify. I've been a bit lazy there. I should have checked that. That divides by 9. Perhaps I should have spotted that divides by 9 as well. So what have we got? 23 over 111. I'll be honest and put it in brackets rather than claiming I got it. There we go. Okay, you should now be capable of doing a few of these questions yourself.